So now I'm going to draw a second line.
Yeah.
And even a third one. Now, in an ordinary pencil and paper drawing, all we have is this particular picture. But the computer understands the geometry of the drawing here. What do I mean? I mean that if I point at this particular point and tell the computer to move that point by another push-button command, it will move not only that point, but all three lines that are attached to it.
And the delay between it's doing what you want it to is because it's computing all these changes.
That's correct. Now, if I made a mistake, I could delete my mistake by pointing at the line in question, for instance, and pressing the appropriate button. It's gone. Now, I mentioned before we could draw circles also.
Right.
In order to do this, I must first indicate the center of my circle. Let's choose it to be here. And then I'll move out to an initial radius, let's say this point right here, and I press the second button to start drawing the circle. Here's our circle. Let me reduce the drawing slightly so our circle shows on the computer scope. And you see as I move the pen, it is ignoring the radial position. I've just gone off the scope screen here. The radial position of the pen and only looking at its angular position. So I can
be very sloppy as you like, in other words.
Right. In other words, the computer supplied the compass here, much like as it supplied the straight edge for the straight lines.
If you go backwards, you erase it.
And I can wind it up the other way. Now, if I tell the computer to put that point right at this circle, right in that point right there, the computer knows that those must be connected. It turns out that they're not really connected. It's a very small nub there. Let me move this away and show you that they're really not connected.
I see.
But I have told it by terminating the point of the pen at that position that it must be connected. Now, I can tell the computer to satisfy this constraint command by bringing in a program under command of this toggle. And watch the scope. You see now that indeed the circle is ending at that line. We have constrained the drawing to behave this way.
Well, now, I wonder if you'd expand a little more on this idea of a constraint. Just what do you mean?
All right. Let me go to a second piece of paper. Now, what I've done here is I really saved away that drawing I just drew.
You can get it back again?
I can get it back, and I can select my drawing number by these toggles here. So I've selected a blank piece of paper, we'll call it. We have several pieces of paper. And I can, let's say I'm beginning to design. I have a very nebulous idea what I want to have in mind. And as I draw my part, let's say on the scope, it reinforces what I have in mind. This is, in general, part of the design process. And as I apply design criteria, stresses, and so on, eventually I will know what the exact shape of this part is. I shouldn't be required to draw the exact shape at the beginning. I really don't know what it is. But let's say I've decided eventually in this model that I want these to be horizontal and vertical, a box. I can apply a new constraint, a horizontal constraint here, a vertical constraint here, and a horizontal here by pointing at the line and pressing a button. Well, now nothing has happened yet because remember I still must tickle that toggle over there to command the computer to satisfy these constraints.
I see. It won't actually let those rubber bands relax then until you say so.
Right. And I'll do that and watch again. There we have a box.
Well, now this idea of having constraints like this, being able to make lines meet or to make them horizontal or vertical makes it quite a step ahead of something that's just a drafting machine that allows you to draw, doesn't it?
Exactly. In other words, you can get the topology down of the part, and at any subsequent position in your design, you can make it to behave exactly what you want. Straighten the drawing up. In other words, you don't have to draw exactly at the beginning like you have to do in drafting. This is, of course, just one aspect of the program. Now, what I can do, in addition to this, is call up copies of master pictures. Remember that picture we drew before? Something like that.
That's right.
What I've done is I regarded that first picture as a master. And I call up a copy of it, and I can manipulate it locally. I can reduce it, magnify it, I can rotate it, and let me place it right there. And I can do this several times. This is, of course, very instrumental for repetitive drawings like circuit diagrams or bridge bays, where we have several repetitive structures.
Oh, if you were drawing a circuit diagram, you might have little resistors or transistors or something already drawn and stored away, and you could call up as many of those as you wanted.
Right. I begin to rotate it. You see it's rotating about an axis perpendicular, imaginary floor. We have a wireframe object here with no fabric covering. Hence, we see the rearward lines as they come in behind this S, which might be lying in the surface.
So
But there is no fabric here, so we see everything.
When the letters go around behind, they're backwards.
Right. Now, we are drawing much like we are in the two-dimensional, except that is by moving a single point around with a light pen, but we're drawing directly in 3D. Here, I have latched the pen onto the letter S. And as I move this around in the letter S, you see 4 dots moving in all the 4 views. This is the projection of the single dot.
In the side view, it's actually also following the S, but in the other two, you're sort of looking at the S on edge, so it's just moving back and forth.
Right, and this is because the S is indeed in the plane of that side surface. So we're seeing the single dot simultaneously in all 4 views as we're moving directly in 3 dimensions.
You're just tracking in that case. Can you actually draw something in all 3 dimensions simultaneously?
Let's put a roof on this object in this fashion. We'll latch onto that corner and we'll draw a pyramid.
I can see it from the side view. It's a false front house there.
Right. And I can also distort things, move things, like we can in 2 dimensions. If I latch onto this line here, or let's say this line over here, I can pull that out to the side and distort the object slightly. Now let's see what we've drawn here. We'll rotate the perspective, this view, again.
Quite a strange looking object.
And now we have a warped house under construction, perhaps.
And there's the F backwards.